Now, each week we speak, and I'm delighted to say a regular on this program is Leith Van Onselen. He's from macrobusiness.com.au, which I tell you each week is the outstanding place we go for our financial and economic opinion and news. He's also chief economist at the MB Fund at MB Super. And Leith Van Onselen, I'm delighted to say, is on the line. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good, thanks, Luke. How about yourself?
I am fine, mate. Thank you very much, although it's a very wet and soggy day in Sydney, I can tell you, and it's wet and soggy in Brisbane as well. Now, I don't know what we'll do with this, but I'm going to say it to you, and I understand why, and I largely agree with you, but up until now, you've largely written off the coalition, but on Thursday night there was a glimpse of hope, wasn't there, in what Peter Dutton delivered as a budget in reply speech?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I must admit, I was feeling a bit, negative towards the coalition as of about Wednesday last week. I think after, Labor did their budget, which is basically just confetti of, short-term bribes for votes, effectively. But one thing Angus Taylor did on, following the budget, and then the next day, he said he'd oppose the very minor tax cuts, which I thought, oh no, mate, you just shot yourself in the foot because 75% of voters work, and they're not going to like that. And you're supposed to be the party of lower taxes, blah, blah, blah. So I was pretty negative. But then Peter Dutton gave his budget reply speech on Thursday night, and I watched it live. And my wife, ran in the room because she thought something happened because I yelled out, yeah, something like that, because he basically announced his East Coast gas reservation policy. Now, there was rumours that he was going to do something on reservation, but, I've got pretty low expectations when it comes to politicians, and I wasn't expecting much, maybe some token stuff. But this policy it's not perfect, but it's the real deal. And, for someone who's been lobbying for gas reservation for a long time, and my business partner, Dave, even longer, he's been doing it for about 10 years in macro business. It was music to our ears. And something to be honest with you, I wasn't sure if we'd ever actually see a politician from a major party actually announce this. And what Peter Dutton basically said is he says as soon as he comes in, he's going to introduce an East Coast gas reservation policy. Now, this is absolutely vital. I've said this, on umpteen shows, that East Coast Australia is the only jurisdiction in the world that exports gas but doesn't have a reservation policy. And despite the fact that we've doubled gas production in the last decade and we export nearly 3/4 of our gas, most of which goes to China, we've actually supplied 25% less gas to the domestic market, and we've created an artificial shortage. And that's sent the gas price surging. And it's therefore also sent the electricity price surging. That's one of the reasons. It's one of the main reasons why, in recent years, we've seen our gas and electricity bills rocket, and then that's led to the ongoing decline of Australia's manufacturing sector because it's become too expensive to produce anything here. We've seen a whole bunch of manufacturers shut down and leave, and other ones threaten to leave because energy is too expensive. And this policy is the perfect circuit breaker. So Australia, just as a counterfactual, Australia is facing a situation whereby if we do nothing, by the end of this year, the East Coast will be importing gas. So despite the fact we export nearly 3/4 of it, we'll actually be importing gas down south in New South Wales, Victoria and South Australia, starting New South Wales first. And as soon as we start importing gas, the East Coast gas price will rocket from around $12 to $14, depending on the day, to $20 plus, because at the moment we effectively pay export parity prices. And what that is, that's the cost that we sell to people overseas before you have to liquefy it and then send it by freight. And liquefying is very expensive. So to convert gas into liquid, you lose about 10% of your gas through, because you have to freeze it effectively, and it uses heaps of energy. So if we started importing it, our gas price would suddenly go to the import parity price, which would be $20 plus. And that's the counterfactual. We're facing an enormous increase in gas prices by, say, the end of the year or into early next year. And then that means our electricity prices will soar as well, because gas is the marginal price setter for electricity a lot of the time. And what Peter Dutton said on the budget reply speech is that he's going to introduce an East Coast gas reservation policy, and he's going to require the gas producers to basically sell spot gas. So that's not your contract, that's your uncontracted gas to the Australian market rather than exporting it. Because at the moment they're actually exporting a lot of the uncontracted gas on the export market. And Dutton said that'll increase domestic supplies by 10 to 20%, and it should bring the price down to around $10 a gigajoule. Now, again, this isn't perfect policy. That's still too expensive, in my view.
It should be half that, shouldn't it?
Well, yeah, maybe seven. Seven may be fair because it's coal seam gas is a bit more expensive than the traditional stuff.
Well, what are they paying? What are they paying in the US?
Yeah, well, I mean, mate, the US is about $4 Australian, but they might have cheaper production. I'm not too sure exactly what's going on there, but but in Western Australia they pay $6.50 to $7. Theirs has gone up a bit as well, but it's a lot cheaper, and that'd be cheap by world standards. I mean, America's just really cheap. But so $10 is too much. But the counterfactual is $10. Well, he said under $10. $10 or under. The counterfactual is $20 if we do nothing. So it's literally half what the alternative is. And there were some other important announcements there that he said. He said he also wants to invest $1 billion into gas storage. Now, that is vital because we have a north-south pipeline that runs from Queensland down south. And one of the reasons why we have this problem is Victoria, for about 60 years, supplied the East Coast with gas through Bass Strait. So Victoria was an exporter of gas to other states, and that Bass Strait gas is starting to it's been running for about 60 years. It's getting towards the end of life. It's now not pulling out as much gas. It's shrinking, like the supply is shrinking. So Victoria's becoming a bit more reliant on Queensland gas, and that's going to increase in the future. And we've got a north-south pipeline that for 9 months of the year, during the summer months and when it's not too cold, it's actually operates well below capacity. But the problem is over the winter months, it's at capacity. So you can't pump more gas down south because, there just isn't a physical space to do it. So what Dutton said is he wants to invest $1 billion in gas storage. Now, that is very sensible. This is what the US does, what Europe does. It's like effectively filling up your gas bottle for your barbecue in winter so you can use it in summer. This is the other way around. We'd fill up that storage during the off season when there's heaps of capacity in the pipeline. Yeah. So Victorians can use it in winter when it's freezing. So he wants to invest there, which is very sensible. This overall gas reservation policy is, to me, I view it as almost a game changer. Like it breaks a decade. It's a circuit breaker to a decade plus folly of not having reservation and creating this crisis that if we do nothing, the counterfactual is $20 gas versus $10 or under.
Mate, I am amazed with the and in this instance the ABC's coverage of this, which is almost pro the gas lobby. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Mate, I'll be honest, I was absolutely disgusted. So I watched I'll probably write an article on it on Macro. I'm so angry about it because I watched the budget reply speech. I was double fist pumped because obviously, I've been in the depths of this policy for a long time. I'm a business partner of Dave even longer. Yeah. And, the discussion in the half an hour afterwards when he got interviewed by Laura Tingle and the 7:30 report person, I can't remember her name. They basically said, what about sovereign risk? What about our Asian trading partners? Aren't you going to take away their gas? What about their security? It was all about everyone but Australians. Yeah. And it was pathetic. And they basically just had a go at Dutton as if gas reservation's bad. And I'm sitting there going, are you Australians? Like we are getting absolutely hammered here. And if we do nothing, gas and electricity prices are going to keep rising and we're going to keep deindustrialising and we're going to have no manufacturing left except stuff that is reliant on government subsidies. So that is the counterfactual here. And I could not believe that our ABC was basically being a mouthpiece for the gas lobby and lobbying on behalf of Chinese consumers, etc., over Australian consumers. And the thing is, we're not actually ripping off those consumers because we're not cancelling any contracts. No. So Dutton's policy is literally to stop them sending uncontracted gas offshore and send it to Australia first. Yes. They're not cancelling any contracts. And the reason why this is so important, Luke, is in 5 years' time, so by 2030, those long-term contracts start to expire. And when they start to expire, if we can stop the cartels from creating new long-term contracts, that gas will be diverted into the domestic market. So after 2030, we should have more than enough gas under this policy. And in the next 5 years, we should have enough to, avert imports, which should be the number one focus. So
Yeah.
I could not believe the ABC on this. It was pathetic.
No, they were appalling. What did you make quickly, mate, of the immigration cut today along the, again, not perfect, but at least there's a bit of a start being made?
Yeah, look. I mean, it was disappointing that he only wants to cut the permanent migrant intake to 140,000. Now, to in Dutton's defence, he did say he'll announce the net overseas migration cuts down the track, and he wants to cut the amount of students, etc., which must happen. Like, it's insane the numbers we've got here, and it is eroding our education standards in a whole bunch of areas. It is causing problems. But yeah, he was a little bit wishy-washy there. But then again, I look at the counterfactual. It's 140,000 permanent migration versus Labor 185. And so, we need lower immigration in this country if we're ever going to solve the housing shortage. And I would still, if you got option A and option B, you got option A's, the coalition with 140,000, option B's Labor 185, and then the Greens want open borders. They want, to them, you can never have enough immigration.
No.
So to me, that's a very clear choice. So on these two issues alone, especially gas, for me, seals the deal.
Yeah.
But immigration, it's like I will definitely preference the coalition above these other parties. I will say though, I generally vote for minor parties first, but in the end, it's your preference that is the vote that counts.
Of course it is. All right, mate. I'll chat to you in a week's time. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
Good on you, Leaf Van Onselen. And as he was, so was I when I heard Dutton talk about gas reservation. I'm thinking, wow,